I'm Geeta Mohan and you're watching World Today. Now, our top story is US President Donald Trump's joint address to the Congress and what followed. The US President reiterated his end the war call in the Congress address, and within hours, the ball was set rolling. CIA Chief Ratcliffe confirmed that US has indeed halted intelligence sharing with Ukraine after Trump and Zelensky's meeting in the White House on the 28th of February. Meanwhile, Kyiv Post reported that top officials from Trump administration held secret discussions with Zelensky and his team in an effort to repair relations. Late Tuesday evening, the US President, in a joint address to the Congress, reiterated that the United States funded millions to Ukraine with no security, while urging the warring sides to come to the negotiating table. Trump said peace between Russia and Ukraine would be beautiful. The Ukrainian president assured Trump in a letter that he is willing to work under him to bring peace and that he regrets their heated exchange in the Oval Office, calling for a partial truce as the first step to peace. Meanwhile, Russia hailed America's move against Ukraine of halting military aid, calling it the best contribution to the cause for peace. Listen in to what the US president had to say.
Earlier today, I received an important letter from President Zelensky of Ukraine. The letter reads, "Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer. Nobody wants peace more than the Ukrainians," he said. "My team and I stand ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace that lasts. We do really value how much America has done to help Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence. Regarding the agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it at any time that is convenient for you." I appreciate that he sent this letter, just got it a little while ago. Simultaneously, we've had serious discussions with Russia and have received strong signals that they are ready for peace. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Wouldn't that be beautiful?
Now, wouldn't peace indeed be beautiful? The US president seems to be getting closer to clinch a Ukraine peace deal step by step. But on the other hand, his speech in the joint session of the Congress has sparked a possibility of a global tariff war. Here's what Trump said.
US President Donald Trump's first address of the joint session of Congress in his second term was a historical one. Lasting over an hour and a half, it broke the record of the longest speech delivered by the former President Bill Clinton. Donald Trump's speech, clocked in at 1 hour 39 minutes and 32 seconds. Was nearly 10 minutes more than Bill Clinton's final State of the Union in 2000 speech, lasting for 1 hour 28 minutes and 49 seconds.
America's momentum is back, our spirit is back, our pride is back, our confidence is back, and the American dream is surging bigger and better than ever before.
And he announced his stance on tariffs. Mentioning India among others, the US President said that he will put reciprocal tariffs on countries taxing America, and it will begin from April 2nd.
If you don't make your product in America, however, under the Trump administration, you will pay a tariff, and in some cases, a rather large one. On average, the European Union, China, Brazil, India, Mexico, and Canada, have you heard of them? And countless other nations charge us tremendously higher tariffs than we charge them. It's very unfair. And South Korea's average tariff is 4 times higher. Think of that, 4 times higher. And we give so much help militarily and in so many other ways to South Korea. But that's what happens. This is happening by friend and foe. This system is not fair to the United States and never was.
President Donald Trump fired his brutal salvo at US aid.
Every day my administration is fighting to deliver the change America needs to bring a future that America deserves, and we're doing it. This is a time for big dreams and bold action. Upon taking office, I imposed an immediate freeze on all federal hiring, a freeze on all new federal regulations, and a freeze on all foreign aid.
Trump also lambasted former U.S. President Joe Biden, calling him the worst president in U.S. history because he left the country in an economic catastrophe.
And we've ended weaponized government where, as an example, a sitting president is allowed to viciously prosecute his political opponent, like me. How did that work out? Not too good. Not too good. I've stopped all government censorship and brought back free speech in America. It's back.
He also hailed the crackdown on illegal immigration and claimed that the United States witnessed lowest ever illegal immigration last month after it declared southern border emergency and conducted a mass deportation drive. President Donald Trump has promised to take America to Mars in his record-breaking historic speech. Bureau Report, India Today.
Now, right after the speech, there was a global outcry against reciprocal tariff Donald Trump intends to slap against countries with effect from the 2nd of April. Chinese embassy in US and Chinese foreign ministry criticized Trump administration and said that it's ready for tariff war by placing retaliatory tariffs. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has hit back with 25% tariffs on $20.7 billion worth of US imports, including orange juice, peanut butter, wine, spirits, beer, coffee, appliances, and motorcycles.
So today, the United States launched a trade war against Canada, their closest partner and ally, their closest friend. At the same time, they're talking about working positively with Russia, appeasing Vladimir Putin, a lying, murderous dictator. Make that make sense. Canadians are reasonable, and we are polite. But we will not back down from a fight. Not when our country and the well-being of everyone in it is at stake. At the moment, the U.S. tariffs came into effect in the early hours of this morning, and so did the Canadian response. Canada will be implementing 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods, starting with tariffs on $30 billion worth of goods immediately, and tariffs on the remaining $125 billion of American products in 21 days' time. Now, it's not in my habit to agree with the Wall Street Journal, but Donald, they point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do.
Now, after this global reaction in a case of revision, U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick referred to a carve-out in the 25% tariffs placed on Canada and Mexico. It's a softening of the U.S. position after Tuesday's tax hike hurt the stock market, worried consumers, and started a trade war. But there's still no clarity on whether India will get the same treatment. President Trump singularly pointed towards Indian auto sector over 100% tariff levied by India. Here is a report.
If you don't make your product in America, however, under the Trump administration, you will pay a tariff, and in some cases, a rather large one.
Donald Trump has been a busy man in his first 43 days as the 47th President of the United States. He signed 83 executive orders, met nearly a dozen world leaders, including Prime Minister Narendra Modi, announced measures to end wokeism and illegal immigration, and triggered a world trade war. A day after announcing 25% tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico and 10% additional tariffs on goods from China, Trump has India in his crosshairs.
Other countries have used tariffs against us for decades, and now it's our turn to start using them against those other countries. India charges us auto tariffs higher than 100%. April 2nd, reciprocal tariffs kick in. And whatever they tariff us, other countries, we will tariff them. That's reciprocal, back and forth. Whatever they tax us, we will tax them.
The stakes are high for India, which is a prime candidate for reciprocal action. As per Nomura report, import duties in India are one of the highest, with the average weighted tariff on US exports at around 9.5%. US charges average tariffs of 3% on Indian goods, but what puts India at a further disadvantage is the fact that the United States remains India's largest export market. In the first 11 months of 2024, India exports to the United States rose 6.5% on year to $73.65 billion, accounting for a little over 18% of India's total exports. The trade surplus was a massive $35 billion, around 1% of India's GDP. A deep dive into Trump's reciprocal tariffs shows India could be hit hard. A report by Citi puts the estimated fall in exports at $7 billion or around 10%. Stan Chart's worst case scenario of a 10% uniform tariff predicts an 11 to 12% export decline, equating to $8.1 to $8.9 billion with a GDP hit of 50 to 60 basis points. State Bank of India puts the losses at a more moderate 3 to 3.5% based on trade data and tariff differentials. The chemicals, metals and jewelry sectors could be the worst affected. A report by Citi Research identifies them as the most at risk due to the high export value and significant tariff disparities. As per Stan Chart report, a 10% US tariff hike could slash jewelry export volumes by 11 to 12%. Other sectors include pharmaceuticals. India is a leading supplier of generic drugs to the United States, and according to the SBI, reciprocal tariffs could lead to a 3.5% export decline. Vehicle and auto parts exports to the United States account for around $2 billion. Trump has hinted at a 25% tariff on autos, which could double or triple current rates on Indian exports, costing the sector up to $500 million annually. One of the most vulnerable sectors is agriculture and food products. India's average applied tariff on US agricultural goods is 39%, while the United States charges 5%. Reciprocal tariffs could kill a large portion of exports of agricultural products like rice and shrimp, which are highly price sensitive. Textiles and apparel. The United States remains a major buyer with exports of around $8 billion. An SBI report says a 10% tariff hike could reduce exports by $240 to $280 million. It is still unclear whether the United States will impose higher tariffs on Indian services exports, including those of the IT sector, which were at more than $100 billion in 2024. India is already working to counter these challenges. A broad-based customs duty cut was announced in Budget 2025. The government is also diversifying its export destinations and is tying up free trade deals with several countries and groupings. Bureau Report, Business Today TV.
Well, to further understand how this impacts India and what is the Indian government thinking, I'm being joined by Siddharth Zarabi, Managing Editor, Business Today. Siddharth, how are government officials and industry reacting to Trump's latest announcement?
Well, the first thing that we need to recognize here is that the trade war has well and truly begun. Remember, President Trump outlined his tariff ideas almost over a month ago, but some of the specific actions were held in abeyance and now have been announced with effect from the 4th of March. Three major trading partners of the United States, Canada, China and Mexico. But for India, the biggest development now is the date of 12th of March. Various expectations suggest that the India-specific announcement could happen on the 12th of March. So effectively, we are now just days away from some India-specific announcements. Remember, President Trump has continuously spoken about India. Even in this latest announcement, he spoke about auto-related tariffs. So that's the really big point at this stage, that the trade war has begun. one of the biggest steps has been taken by the United States, and these countries are also retaliating. China and Canada have announced their retaliatory tariffs, tit-for-tat tariffs. Mexico is likely to do that in the next few days. But for India, the specter of specific tariff action on Indian exports to the United States is likely on 12th of March. Now, what is the reaction? The reaction is very simple. Until the details of the tariffs, specific tariffs are announced, there will be some amount of uncertainty. The existing actions provide some opportunity for Indian exporters to fill the gap. But if Indian exports are also to become expensive, then we don't know. So the reaction so far from government and industry members is one of wait and watch. There are hopes that the government of India is going to sort out some of these issues in the trade conversations, many of which are happening behind closed doors.
Well, Siddharth, thank you so much for joining us over here. We'll have to wait and see how the meetings between Union Minister Piyush Goyal and his counterpart in DC really pan out and what the outcome is going to be. Meanwhile, this isn't the first time that President Trump's policy has hurt India-US trade ties. In his first term, he terminated India's preferential trade status under GSP program in the year 2019. The man who calmed down frayed nerves then was none other than President Trump's right-hand man, then Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. And he will be back in the country's top thought platform, that is our India Today conclave this weekend, to make sense of what President Trump means with this order and of what it means to have these tariffs against India at this point in time, at this juncture.
There is a tariff war going on. The US President Donald Trump in his second term has unleashed a tariff tsunami across all countries, including India. But then he did it before as well. In June 2019, the US President Donald Trump in his first term terminated India's designation as a beneficiary, developing nation under the Key Generalized System Preference or GSP trade program. President Trump concluded that the GSP did not assure America equitable and reasonable access to Indian markets that it promised in return. The US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was the man to soothe the frayed nerves.
I'm very confident we can. Look, I know the GSP is a big deal to India. It matters an awful lot. I don't think anyone would be surprised to know that trade and trade deficit matter an awful lot to President Trump. I'm confident that when two countries of goodwill work together, that we can work our way through this. Make no mistake, neither country will get everything they want when that deal is put together, when it's ultimately resolved. Each country will have to give things up, make trade-offs, but that's what friends do.
Despite losing the GSP status, India's trade with the US demonstrated notable resilience and growth in the next 5 years. The current reciprocal tariff system introduced by President Trump in his second term could best be explained by his right-hand man in his previous term, Mike Pompeo. No one knows President Trump as well as the former US Secretary of State. Mike Pompeo would be at the India Today conclave this weekend to decode President Trump and his reciprocal tariff and more, all on the India Today conclave.
Now, any speech of President Trump today is incomplete without mentioning or rather praising Elon Musk. The joint address was no different. The US President lauded Tesla CEO Elon Musk for his selfless contribution in leading the Department of Government Efficiency, or what we call DOGE, adding that even Democrats secretly appreciated his efforts. Listen in.
And to that end, I have created the brand new Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. Perhaps you've heard of it. Perhaps. Which is headed by Elon Musk, who is in the gallery tonight. Thank you, Elon. He's working very hard. He didn't need this. He didn't need this. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Everybody here, even this side, appreciates it, I believe. They just don't want to admit that.
Now, 2 of NASA's astronauts stranded in space are just a few weeks away from finally returning to Earth after 9 months. Butch Wilmore and Sunita Williams have to wait until their replacements arrive at the International Space Station next week before they can check out later this month. They'll be joined on their SpaceX ride home by 2 other astronauts who launched by themselves in September alongside 2 empty seats. Here's Sunita Williams' message from the news conference this morning.
It brings to mind family and all the people on the ground who support us. So, you know, it's been a roller coaster for them, probably a little bit more so than for us. You know, we're here, we have a mission, we're just doing what we do every day, and, you know, every day is interesting because we're up in space and it's a lot of fun. So I think the hardest part is, you know, having the folks on the ground have to not know exactly when we're coming back. Know, of course, that we are coming back with Crew 9, but, you know, all of that uncertainty, I think, is probably the most difficult part, and, you know, it takes a little time just to have that conversation with them on a daily basis and say, hey, we're coming back before long, so, you know, don't make all those plans without me. You know, we'll be back before too long.
Now, we will be tracking Sunita Williams' return very closely when she touches the terra firma. With that, it's a wrap in this edition of World Today. Thank you for watching. Goodbye and take care.